First question, there are two conventional openings that are discussed in the spin book. The first is relating to personal interests. They are successful in small sales. These are mainly used in small rural areas where the communities were more tightly knit. The larger urban stores, there was no correlation found between the two. According to the author of Spin, people used to buy from someone because they knew them. He says that personal loyalty is no longer a reason for people doing business. A busy buyer does not want to talk about his personal hobbies to 10 different sellers every day. The higher up the buyer is in the community, the more they feel that their volume is at a premium. Buyers are also suspicious of sellers who begin with questions in personal areas. They think that the seller's motives aren't genuine and they're trying to manipulate the buyer. Second opening statement is opening benefit statement. Huthwaite went out to investigate whether there was a correlation between the opening benefit statement and success in larger sales by listening to over 300 calls. They found that there was no relationship between the two, and they found that the most successful salespeople opened their calls in a different way. Salespeople who opened their call in the same way every time were less successful. Less successful salespeople talk about their product early in the call, which is exactly what this statement does. Talking about the product too early in the call, the seller won't be able to build the value of the product, and the buyer will start asking questions, which will result in the seller losing control of the call and not asking the questions. So for our second question, the two possible outcomes of a sales call are advances and continuations. Advances are where an event takes place with a specific agreed upon action, either in the call or after it, that moves the sales forward toward a decision. Examples can include a customer's agreement to attend an off-site demonstration, permission to meet with someone higher up in the company, permission to run a trial of test of the product, or access to things that were previously inaccessible. An advance requires an action that moves the sale forward in larger sales. Most buyers' objective is to get an advance from the customer. To successfully close a sale, the buyer needs to know what advance they realistically can get from the customer. The last possible outcome, according to the author, is continuations. This is where the sale continues, but there is no specific action that has been agreed upon by the customer to move it forward. These calls don't have an agreed action, but the customer hasn't said no yet either. Customers would say something like, "Let's meet again," or something positive, and they will give you a call later. These calls that ended with continuations were classified as unsuccessful according to the author. Rackham defines sales calls as success if they produce actions and not just positive words. Advances are more successful because they produce an action that commits the customer to going further along with the sale. Continuations are often a result of the salesperson not making adequate call objectives that they want to reach by the end of the call, such as an advance or a meeting later with the customer. By the end of the call, most of these people who are unsuccessful don't obtain an agreement from the customer. So for question 3, we have objections from the customer and preventing them. When the seller uses a lot of features in a larger sales call, it will most likely raise price concerns from the buyer. Using a lot of features is successful when the cost of the product is low, because the customer will think they're getting a better deal for such a low price with a product that has so many features. List of features on expensive product makes the buyer question whether a product is worth it. By listing too many features, it inevitably turns the buyer towards the seller's competition for a cheaper option. Along with features, there's a strong correlation between advantages and objections in larger sale. The problem with using too many advantages is the seller doesn't have the opportunity to build up a need for the advantage they introduce. The buyer will then feel that the advantage doesn't have enough value for them for the expensive price and will reject it. Rackham believes the way to solve this is by preventing the problem instead of solving it when it comes up. Objection prevention can be used so that the objections never arise. To do this, the seller needs to address the cause of objections, and this can be done through the use of implication questions and need payoff questions. So then the value is increased and it outweighs the cost. Rackham goes on to say the seller needs to develop explicit needs and offer benefits that after they have been developed.